In one of the most remote regions on Earth, located on the edge of the Arctic Circle, lies Finland, the happiest country in the world. A nation where happiness stems from the security and economy of its inhabitants, but also from such peculiar customs as the national sport of sitting around doing nothing, or the fact that there are more saunas than cars. Saunas have become the most common ritual for the people who live there. Spaces where families, friends, and even co-workers gather every day, wearing very little clothing, to talk, relax, and combat the northern cold together. A country whose connection to Christmas is so deep and magical that Santa Claus himself decided to set up his home here, accompanied by reindeer, elves, and helpers, to prepare gifts for the whole world from one of the snowiest, most beautiful, and mysterious regions on the planet. A territory as surprising as it is extreme, known for its impossible temperatures and endless white landscapes. A cold and ice that explain why, in certain areas of the country, the police patrol on reindeer instead of cars. Families have to keep their deceased relatives in their homes or garages until the thaw arrives. There are lakes where it is customary to bathe naked after the sauna, and it is the only place in the world where competitions such as carrying your wife on your back to win her weight in beer are held. Pay attention, and don't miss this video because discovering Finland with us will surprise you more than you can imagine. Let's get started. In one of the most magical and white regions on Earth, where the cold carves the landscape as if it were marble, lies a country like no other. A land of endless forests, frozen lakes, and skies lit up with green auroras that seem to come from another world. A place that many imagine to be inhospitable, but which is, nevertheless, home to one of the most advanced and happiest societies on the planet. Finland lies at the northern tip of Europe, bathed by the Baltic Sea and embraced by two giants, Sweden to the west and Russia to the east. To the north, its lands narrow until they touch the heart of Lapland and finally reach the border with Norway. It is a country that seems isolated from the world, but it is precisely because of this isolation that it has developed one of the most unique and fascinating cultures on the continent. One of the details that most surprises travelers is its extremely low population density, a reality that also has a lot to do with its unspoiled beauty. Although Finland covers an area of more than 338,000 square kilometers, just over 5.5 million people live here, giving it a density of around 18 inhabitants per square kilometer. In comparison, a country of similar size but much more populated is Vietnam, which has a similar area to Finland, but with more than 100 million inhabitants, i.e., more than 20 times the population of Finland. This low population density means that vast regions remain completely untouched, intact, as if they had remained the same for thousands of years. Forests where not a single machine can be heard. Lakes that reflect the sky like perfect mirrors. Mountains where the snow falls so softly you can hear it. The reason for this human dispersion is simple: the extreme climate. During the winter, much of the country is submerged under an endless white blanket, and there are regions in the far north where the sun disappears for weeks on end. This is what the Finns call the polar night, a natural phenomenon that occurs when the planet's tilt prevents the sun from rising above the horizon during the coldest months. In places like Utsjoki, the polar night can last more than a month, creating the feeling of living in a deep sleep where the day never quite begins. But this phenomenon has an equally amazing opposite: the midnight sun. During the summer, in these same regions, the sun does not set, and so at 3 in the morning, the mountains are still lit up as if it were midday. It is such a disconcerting sight that many travelers say their brains refuse to understand when to fall asleep. However, it is not all magic. Both the polar night and the midnight sun affect the mood. The lack of light, or conversely the excess of it, causes insomnia, irritability, emotional slumps, and even disorientation of time in those who are not accustomed to it. It is common for newcomers to lose track of the day, to feel that it is always too late or too early. That's why doctors recommend preparing mentally, using white light lamps, and maintaining strict routines to avoid so-called darkness fatigue. Even so, there is something fascinating about it. Finns do not see these phenomena as a curse, but as a sacred period. Many describe these extreme seasons as moments of introspection, silence, and absolute calm. During the polar night, the northern lights paint the sky with green lights. The forests become almost motionless, and houses shine from afar like small islands of warmth in the midst of eternal darkness. And the most surprising thing is that this country not only endures these extreme realities, but has developed methods to turn them into a source of well-being. Daily saunas, ice baths, often even without clothes, family gatherings, outdoor activities without sun, deep contact with nature, and a social system that protects mental health. Thanks to these habits and many others that you will now discover with us, Finland not only survives the polar night or the midnight sun, it makes them an essential part of its identity. And these are just some of the reasons why its inhabitants have been considered, year after year, the happiest people on the planet. In this country, even its name has an interesting origin. Many believe that Finland comes from the word Finn, an ancient term used by the Nordic peoples to refer to the nomadic hunters who inhabited these lands. Others believe it has an even older Scandinavian origin, related to the northern lands that Viking explorers visited on their voyages. And here's a little-known truth. Although Finns are not Vikings in the pure ethnic sense, they do share deep ties to that legendary Nordic world. Although it is often thought that the ancient Finns were Vikings, the reality is different and much more fascinating. The Vikings were Scandinavian peoples organized into maritime clans, navigators, traders, and warriors who dominated the northern seas. In contrast, what is now Finland was home to the so-called Uralic peoples, a group of ethnic groups native to the cold regions stretching from the Gulf of Finland to the vicinity of the Ural Mountains in the far west of Russia. The original Finns were hunters, fishermen, and shamans who lived in small groups, deeply connected to the forests, lakes, and spirits of nature. To understand this better, a comparison well known from popular culture may help. If you have seen Game of Thrones, imagine this difference. The Vikings would be like the warrior peoples of the sea, similar to the Greyjoys, while the ancient inhabitants of Finland would be more like the children of the forest. Small, spiritual communities, deeply connected to nature, ice, and the invisible forces of the north. Unlike the structured kingdoms of Norway, Sweden, or Denmark, these tribes did not form large states or armies. They lived in harmony with nature and developed a spiritual culture full of magical songs, shamanic rituals, and stories where man coexisted with ice creatures, enchanted forests, and seas that could awaken as if they were living beings. Even so, both worlds were deeply connected. The Scandinavian kingdoms traded, allied themselves, and also waged war with the tribes that inhabited Finland. The contact was so intense that many Finnish stories retain echoes of that borderline relationship between the human, the natural, and the mythical. Ancient Finnish mythology is full of heroes and supernatural creatures. In the Kalevala, the great national epic, there are magicians who freeze entire seas, warriors who travel on sleds pulled by wind spirits, and bards capable of singing spells that bring down mountains. The ancient inhabitants of Finland were intrepid navigators, accustomed to moving between frozen seas, sudden storms, and endless archipelagos. For them, the sea was not just a physical element, but a realm full of spirits, sea monsters, dangers, and invisible forces that had to be respected. And perhaps that is why many of the ancient maps of legendary creatures such as the Kraken or the Great Sea Serpent have a direct connection to the roots of these northern sailors. Thus, the maritime legends we speak of today as universal myths of the sea may be due, in large part, to the stories that arose from Finnish voyages in the Baltic and beyond. Routes that no one else traveled, where the unknown was so real that the sun barely rose and fog enveloped everything, giving rise to tales of giant tentacles, waves that lifted entire ships, dark shadows under the ice, which the Finns later carved into paper and told the whole world as a warning. Perhaps because of so many past dangers, modern Finns retain that unique blend of serenity, quiet strength, resistance to the cold, and a sober beauty that seems to have been inherited directly from the landscapes that saw them born. Today, this country with an ancient name and a modern spirit has been considered for several years as the happiest country in the world. And this is not an empty phrase. It is a ranking made by international organizations such as the United Nations, which analyze factors such as social welfare, security, economy, equality, trust, and quality of life. You may wonder, especially if you don't like the cold, how a country with such an extreme climate and such a remote location has achieved this title time and time again. What makes a nation that lives in complete darkness for part of the year achieve the highest levels of happiness on Earth? There are many factors, but we could start with something fundamental. Finland is one of the safest societies. In fact, it appears year after year among the 10 safest countries in the world, according to various international indices. Crime is extremely low, and the rate of violence is one of the lowest in the world. So trust among citizens is so high that in many cities people leave their doors open or their bicycles unlocked. Added to this is the fact that it also has one of the strongest and most stable economies on the planet. Finland has sectors that act as engines for the country: technology, forestry, engineering, education, and a welfare system that offers equal opportunities to all citizens. This economic environment translates into an exceptional standard of living. Finland is not a country where people live in fear of whether they will have a job tomorrow. Employment rates are extremely high, job turnover is minimal, and stable contracts are the norm. Per capita GDP is among the highest in Europe, which is reflected in high salaries, balanced working hours, and the feeling, increasingly rare in the modern world, that the future is under control. Added to this is an extraordinary pension system, designed so that no one reaches old age fearing tomorrow. Retirement is not seen as a problem, but as a comfortable stage of life, supported by a social network that protects everyone. It is for all these reasons that everyday life in Finland proceeds without the economic upheavals that affect millions of people elsewhere on the planet. Here, people do not live with anxiety about making ends meet, but with the peace of mind of knowing that the system works and that the country supports its citizens at every stage of their lives. But Finnish happiness does not come only from money or security. It also comes from a philosophy of life. A philosophy that has a lot to do with the fact that there is only one national sport here that is as surprising as it is wonderful: sitting around doing nothing. That's right, in Finland there are even competitions that reward the participant who manages to relax most deeply, without moving, without stress, without doing anything at all. A spiritual challenge that they have turned into a game, and that helps them enjoy the present more, and live without stress or worries. But there is an even more common and cherished reality than the national sport of doing nothing, an element that defines Finnish life more than any other: saunas. In this country, saunas are more than just a place to warm up. They are a national ritual, an essential part of Finnish identity. Finland has more saunas than cars, and almost as many as inhabitants. They are found in homes, workplaces, forests, lakeside cabins, and even official buildings. In fact, it is estimated that there are more than 3 million saunas throughout the country, an absolutely impressive figure when you consider that Finland has just over 5 million inhabitants. This means that, on average, there is more than one sauna per family, a statistic that no other country in the world can match. For Finns, the sauna is not a luxury or a simple steam room. It is an almost sacred space, a refuge where people converse calmly, strengthen bonds, and purify body and spirit. There, friends, families, and even co-workers sit together, scantily clad, enveloped in a warm cloud that seems to suspend time. Within those wooden walls, modesty disappears and something more ancient takes over: the human need for warmth, silence, and connection, in a country where the cold is extreme and winter can last more than half a year. While for Finns it is completely natural, for most of us it would be unthinkable to gather with family, friends, or co-workers almost naked, sharing a small, sweaty space. However, in Finland, there is no such shame. The sauna is a place where everyone feels equal, no matter your position, age, body, or social status. When you enter, all that matters is the heat and mutual respect. At this point, we'd like to ask you, would you like to visit Finland and participate in these sauna gatherings? If so, who would you invite? Do you think this is the happiest country in the world, or do you think there are happier ones? Pause the video and leave us your comment. You know that doing so is the best way to help us continue to grow with you and create interesting content like this every week, so thank you. In many regions of the country, the ritual does not end inside the sauna, as upon leaving, most Finns plunge completely naked into a frozen lake or a pool of nearly frozen water. This tradition is known as avantointi, and it is not an act of reckless bravery, but an ancient wellness practice that clears the mind and generates a natural euphoria that many describe as rebirth. The most interesting thing is that today, science confirms that this is not an unfounded popular belief. Many medical studies have shown that this thermal contrast improves circulation, strengthens the immune system, reduces stress by releasing endorphins, and helps relax muscles and joints. It can even improve sleep quality in people who are accustomed to practicing it. However, specialists warn that it is not an experience for everyone, and that those who are not accustomed to it should do so with caution. But for Finns who have grown up with this ritual, avantointi is a natural medicine and one of the best-kept secrets of their well-being. Many people don't know this, but the saunas that exist today around the world originated in Finland, and here they are very different from what most people imagine. They are not warm, humid rooms like those in modern gyms, but dry, intense, and deeply ritualistic spaces that are an essential part of everyday Finnish life. Most of these traditional saunas are dry saunas, built entirely of wood, where a stove heats volcanic stones placed on top. When water is poured over them, a hot steam called löili is released, a dense and abruptly hot cloud that Finns consider the very soul of the sauna. The intensity of the heat is controlled in the simplest and most ancient way, by adding more or less water to the stones, allowing temperatures to easily exceed 100 degrees Celsius. This tradition, as we know it today, was born here, in the forests and lakes of the north, an invention perfected over centuries and passed down from generation to generation, from pagan times to the present day. Thus, amid the crackling of the fire, the smell of hot wood, the steam dancing in the air, and the sudden shock of ice-cold water on the skin, Finns have found one of the deepest keys to their well-being and happiness. And now that you know some of the pillars that sustain the daily life of Finns, their Nordic origins, their strong economy, their extraordinary security, their calm philosophy, and those almost sacred saunas that mark the rhythm of their days, it's time to delve into the beauty and curiosities of this country, elements that also explain why it has been recognized year after year as the happiest place in the world. Because what you will discover below will show you that Finland is not just a cold, remote, snow-covered land. It is, above all, a haven of peace, unspoiled nature, and authentic well-being. A country that has transformed the challenges of the North into a unique and deeply inspiring lifestyle. So much so that Santa Claus himself chose this place to establish his permanent home in one of the most beautiful and magical regions on Earth. Beautiful Lapland, a vast region located in the far north of Europe and shared by Finland, Sweden, Norway, and Russia, covers some 386,000 square kilometers. It is one of the largest and, at the same time, most empty areas on the continent, a territory larger than Japan, but inhabited by only about 185,000 people. That means an incredibly low density of about 0.5 inhabitants per square kilometer. To give you a better idea, it would be as if just over 600 people lived in the entire city of Mexico City, spread out across all the streets, neighborhoods, and buildings. That is the level of silence, vastness, and solitude that defines Lapland. The reason for this sparse population lies in its extreme nature. Here, the cold can last for more than half the year. Winters are endless, agriculture is barely possible, and urban life can only be sustained in small centers. That is why this region remains one of the last great wildernesses in Europe. A realm of endless forests, frozen tundra, and skies that change from deep blue to the green of the northern lights. For most of the year, the region of Lapland, as well as large areas of northern Finland, remains covered by a thick, silent blanket of snow. Underneath this white mantle, the ground in many areas consists of permafrost, permanently frozen soil that never thaws completely, even in summer. This soil condition directly affects the daily life and customs of those who inhabit these regions. Permafrost makes something as human as burying a loved one a challenge, because the frozen ground is so hard that it is almost impossible to dig. For this reason, in many northern villages, traditional cemeteries cannot be used during the winter, and families must wait months until the ground softens enough to bury their dead. As a result of this frozen ground, in some northern communities, families must resort to unusual solutions. When someone dies in the middle of winter, bodies are often kept at home, in storage rooms, or in small chambers until summer arrives. Only then, when the ground begins to thaw and tools can penetrate the earth, is it possible to carry out a proper burial. This practice, so surprising to visitors, reveals not only the adaptability of the inhabitants of Lapland, but also their deep relationship with an environment that demands patience, respect, and resilience. All of this is closely related to its location. Lapland is located on the very border of the Arctic Circle, an invisible line that marks not only a geographical boundary, but also a cultural symbol. For many travelers, being here is a unique experience. Being able to place one foot inside the Arctic Circle and the other outside becomes almost a ritual, a way of feeling that you are crossing the threshold into a different world. This region is home to one of the most iconic destinations in the north, Rovaniemi. This city is famous not only for being located right on the edge of the Arctic Circle, where visitors enjoy crossing that almost mythical border, but also for being the official home of Santa Claus, a place where Christmas seems to have decided to stay forever. In the heart of Rovaniemi is the famous Santa Claus village, the authentic home of Santa Claus, a place where the magic of Christmas is experienced 365 days a year. Here, Santa Claus welcomes thousands of travelers who come from all corners of the world to see him work in his toy workshop, where he begins preparing the gifts he will deliver each Christmas. In this village, illuminated by warm lights and surrounded by snow, visitors can see how the Christmas team organizes itself to make the wishes of children and adults come true every December. One of the most special attractions of the place is the secret workshop where the elf helpers sort letters, make toys, and review long wish lists. This space is a detailed recreation of Santa Claus's universe. Tables full of tools, mountains of letters from all over the world, conveyor belts carrying hundreds of gifts, and areas where the elves carefully wrap each gift. Witnessing this process makes the visit an unforgettable Christmas experience that awakens the excitement even in those who have left childhood behind. And of course, Santa's reindeer, animals that are an essential part of Finland's Christmas tradition, cannot be missed. In the surroundings of the village, you can see them, learn about them, and even take sleigh rides through the snowy forests of the Arctic Circle. This combination of nature, fantasy, and Christmas spirit makes Rovaniemi one of the most desirable winter destinations, a place where Christmas feels more real than anywhere else on the planet. In addition to touring Santa Claus Village, here you can enjoy the unique experience of literally standing on the edge of the Arctic. A well-known line, the Arctic Circle line, runs through the village, allowing you to stand with one foot inside the Arctic and the other outside, creating a sensation that is as curious as it is unforgettable. This feature is yet another incentive to visit Santa Claus Village, which attracts many tourists every year who want to visit Santa Claus's office and experience the magic of Christmas in a winter setting, while discovering how Santa Claus, his helpers, and his faithful reindeer live. As they imagine these animals and dream of seeing them in these magical landscapes, many visitors look up in search of the northern lights or stars that seem to shine brighter here than anywhere else. But what really surprises them is encountering something even more unusual: police officers patrolling on reindeer. For many tourists, seeing a law enforcement officer traveling on a reindeer instead of in a car or on a motorcycle seems almost like a scene from a Christmas story. However, there is a logical explanation for this that is deeply linked to the environment. In some rural and snowy areas of Lapland and northern Finland, roads become impassable for much of the winter, and so reindeer remain the most reliable and useful means of transport, as these animals can move effortlessly through deep snow, cross dense forests, and move silently through places where no modern vehicle could reach. An interesting fact is that decades ago, reindeer patrols were relatively common among Finnish forest rangers and rural surveillance units, who traveled through remote areas to monitor wildlife, assist travelers, and control the herds of Sami shepherds. Today they are less common, but they are still part of the cultural landscape of the Arctic, and during local festivals or events, it is common to see officers riding reindeer to preserve this unique tradition. As you can see, in this country, nature dictates its own rules to the point of changing police customs to adapt them to the rhythm of the north, reminding us that in some regions of Finland, the line between modern life and ancestral tradition is much thinner than it seems. Regions such as Rovaniemi, where Santa Claus village has become a symbol of Christmas around the world for years, not only because of its connection to the mythical figure of Santa Claus, but also because of its impressive Arctic landscape. Historically, this region was chosen for its natural beauty and strategic location in the Arctic Circle, where the culture and traditions of the Sami people, whom you will soon learn about, have influenced the legend of Santa Claus, merging local elements with Christmas iconography. But the choice had a lot to do with the end of a war, World War II. It was after these sad events that Finland sought to revitalize the region and attract visitors. In 1950, Eleanor Roosevelt, the wife of the then President of the United States, visited Rovaniemi, and after this visit, a cabin was built in her honor, marking the beginning of what would become Santa Claus Village. The main intention behind these events was to promote tourism and the local economy during a period of much-needed reconstruction in regions as remote and devastated by war as this one. Over time, Rovaniemi was promoted as the official residence of Santa Claus, his helpers, and his faithful reindeer, due to its strategic location within the Arctic Circle. This is how the village benefited from its perfect winter environment, characterized by perpetually snow-covered landscapes and skies adorned with the northern lights, making it a place full of magic and appeal for tourists. Today, thousands of people from all over the world travel each year to meet the real Santa Claus in his village, making Rovaniemi an iconic Christmas destination. Visiting Rovaniemi is, for millions of people, an almost childlike dream. The desire to meet Santa Claus, see the northern lights, or walk through a snow-covered forest where every branch looks like something out of a fairy tale. But curiously, for Finns there are much more earthly goals, and much crazier ones. One of the most famous is a competition as absurd as it is exciting, known throughout the world as the Wife-Carrying World Championship. It is such a strange event that many tourists believe it is a joke, until they see it with their own eyes. This festival is held every summer in the town of Sonkajärvi, and for the locals it is as eagerly awaited as a soccer derby or an Olympic final. The main rule is simple and, at the same time, baffling. Men must carry their wives or partners or even friends because they do not require actual marriage, through a circuit full of obstacles, mud puddles, fences, and pools of ice-cold water. The most curious thing is that there are official styles for carrying the woman. The most famous and the one used by almost all the champions is the Estonian style, in which the woman hooks herself upside down onto the competitor's back, with her legs crossed over his shoulders as if she were a human backpack. The result is as comical as it is effective, and seeing dozens of couples running like this is an image that no spectator will ever forget. But here comes the best part. The prize for the winner is his wife's exact weight in beer. If she weighs 50 kilos of beer. If she weighs 70 kilos of beer. That's why there are contestants who are daring enough to compete with women of any weight, because the more their partner weighs, the greater the prize in beer. Thus, some participants voluntarily choose heavier women to increase their final prize, making the choice of partner part of the strategy and the spectacle. It's an incentive as absurd as it is glorious, turning the competition into a mixture of sport, humor, and local tradition. Thinking of glorious incentives, knowing that you are enjoying this trip through Finland, remember to give us a nice like and subscribe to Uncensored World if you haven't already. Because as you can see here, you discover the world like nowhere else. Every year, competitors arrive from countries as diverse as Australia, Japan, the United States, and the United Kingdom. Some train for months. Yes, they literally train by carrying their partners, while others show up just to have the craziest experience of their lives in a festive environment full of music, barbecues, laughter, and popular celebrations. Far from being a mockery, the festival is seen by Finns as a celebration of love, camaraderie, and of course the sense of humor that characterizes this country. Here, no one takes offense, no one is embarrassed, and everyone understands that life in a country where darkness can last for months also needs moments of pure fun. The fascinating thing is that this tradition has a supposed historical origin. It is said that in ancient times, certain bandits from the north stole women from neighboring villages, carrying them on their backs as they fled through the forests. Today, fortunately, the story has been transformed into a festive event where the only things stolen are laughter and beer. As you can see, between reindeer, auroras, saunas, and impossible competitions, Finland proves that its title of happiest country in the world is not only due to its economy or security, but also to its ability to laugh at itself and celebrate life even in the coldest corners of the planet. If you've made it this far, you're probably interested in knowing how to get there and make the most of this country of happiness, which is why we at Uncensored World have done our research and now bring you the best information. To get to Finland, the usual route is to fly to its capital, Helsinki, although it is also possible to fly to other major airports such as Turku or Oulu, depending on your travel route. From North America, there are direct flights and also very convenient connections through cities such as New York, Chicago, Toronto, or even some airports on the West Coast. From Latin America, it is common to travel with a stopover in Madrid, Paris, London, or Amsterdam, before continuing on to Helsinki. If you are traveling from Asia, Finland is surprisingly well connected. From cities such as Tokyo, Seoul, Singapore, or Bangkok, there are direct routes or routes with a single stopover, making the country a common entry point to Europe for many Asian travelers. As for visas, citizens of many countries, including the United States, Canada, Australia, and Japan, do not need a visa for stays of up to 90 days within a 180-day period, as Finland is part of the Schengen area. In terms of the cost of living, Finland is not exactly cheap, but it is not impossible if you plan well. For example, in Helsinki, a mid-range hotel room can cost around $100 per night, depending on the season. A typical meal for two in a standard restaurant can cost around $30 to $40, while if you opt for cheaper options, hostels, street food, local markets, you can significantly reduce the cost, perhaps to $10 to $15 each in some cases. To get around the country, you have several options: efficient public transportation, trains, long-distance buses, domestic flights, and car rentals. If you want to get to Rovaniemi, the magical capital of Lapland, some European airports have direct flights, and there are also options from Helsinki, the two main ones being: the fastest is to take a domestic flight, which takes about an hour and a half, with prices usually ranging from $120 to $200 depending on the season. The most popular alternative among travelers is the train, which offers not only night services but also daytime trains. The journey takes between 8 and 12 hours, depending on the type of train chosen. A one-way ticket usually costs between $40 and $80, while sleeper compartments on the night train, the most sought after for the full northern experience, tend to cost between $120 and $150. To fully enjoy reindeer, the Northern Lights and Santa Claus's house in Rovaniemi, 2 to 3 days are enough. Although if you include night tours, sleigh rides, and saunas, you may want to stay for 4 days. When it comes to saunas, Finland has a truly impressive number. It is estimated that there are more than 3 million in a country with just over 5 million inhabitants. There are more saunas than cars, and many of them are mixed or for community use. It is common for couples, friends, and even co-workers to gather there with little clothing to chat, relax, and strengthen bonds. So, if you come to this country, don't be shy or embarrassed. Immersing yourself in this tradition is one of the most authentic experiences you can have in Finland. And if you're interested in experiencing something truly unique, now that you know about the famous wife-carrying world championship, you should know that this peculiar event is held every year at the beginning of July in the small town of Sonkajärvi, one of the most remote and authentic corners of Finland. Sonkajärvi is several hundred kilometers north of Helsinki, and although it's not a short trip, getting there is part of the adventure. To do so, you can take a train or bus from Helsinki to the city of Kajaani, and from there continue by bus or rental car for about an hour to Sonkajärvi. The atmosphere of the championship is festive, fun, and totally unforgettable. Music, local food, laughter, competitors from all over the world, and of course, the most famous prize in the competition, the wife's weight in beer, something that makes many contestants arrive with real strategies and prior training. If you decide to participate, or simply attend as a spectator, we assure you that it will be an experience you will remember forever. Here, in this crazy and endearing Finnish tradition, happiness is experienced without filters. I hope you enjoyed this trip through Finland, a country capable of combining the magic of the Northern Lights with the serenity of its endless forests, the purity of its lakes, and the extraordinary happiness of its people. At Uncensored World, we hope this video has inspired you to discover this wonderful corner of the planet for yourself, and to continue exploring places that surprise, excite, and spark curiosity. Don't miss the video that appears on the screen now, a new adventure full of mysteries, fascinating stories, and wonders of this incredible world we live in. Click on it. You're going to love it.